welcome to It's Our Time with Scott Ryan. I am your host, Scott Ryan, and today you're not going to have to bid on anything because I know you're sitting at home looking at your pennies, wishing that you had David Lynch's melon ball scooper and you couldn't do it. But you want to know what happened with that. And we've got the guy here that's going to give us all those answers. And for those of you who are feeling a little left out, we're running a sale at bluerosemag.com where you can get $5 off anything when you use the coupon code AUCTION. So you can win something here today. I'm going to bring in Roy Parker-Saladino. Welcome to the show, Roy.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
And I'm so excited to find out all about this auction. I was lucky to be out in LA before, and I got to see David Lynch's chair at Bob's
Oh,
Big
great.
Boy. I asked if I could eat my breakfast in it. They said no.
Probably smart. Yeah.
But how did you get involved with the David Lynch auction?
So I work at Julian's, and I am a Hollywood specialist. So I work in our Hollywood department, primarily on the contemporary Hollywood. We're kind of split between classic and contemporary. And so I work on things such as celebrity estates. And so when this estate was coming in, when Julian's was lucky enough to be the auction house that was chosen with this honor, honestly, my hand went up very fast and said, I really would like to be the lead on this sale because I feel like I know what I'm doing. Um, and
Are you a David Lynch fan?
I'm a huge David Lynch fan. And so that's why I was very territorial about it when it came in. There were a couple other colleagues that went to the house. I did not get to go to the house because I was during the bidding process, which I'm not a part of. But once we were selected and the property was all coming in, it was me and then a couple of my colleagues who were tasked with opening every box and looking through every single thing that was coming in, which was exciting and thrilling. We didn't know what it was going to be. We just knew that the contents of the house, all of it was coming, and so opening those boxes and discovering things was, for about a week straight, it was a thrill every day. So yeah, so no, it was important to me to get to work on this one. Because David is very important to me. My mom introduced me to him when I was a kid, watching The Straight Story with her. That was my
Oh, was
first.
The Straight Story your first Lynch?
Yeah, because it was rated G, so I was a kid and I could watch it. But
I've
she
actually
had watched
never
Twin Peaks growing up,
I've
so yeah.
never met someone whose first Lynch thing was The Straight Story. That is really an interesting way in.
Yeah, and I remember things again. I was probably 6 or 7, maybe 8, and there are things from that viewing with my mom. My childhood was in small town Kansas, and I remember sitting next to my mom, and there are things I still remember. The scene where he passes by the woman who's at the deer with her
Of
car.
course.
That really resonated with me, and that image stayed with me for 15, 25 years until I finally revisited it and went, oh yes, this scene, I remember this so well. So yeah, no, Straight Story was the first thing I ever really saw of David when I was a kid.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah.
And so really, I'm telling you, if I had your job and they said everyone's going out to David Lynch's house, but you're staying back at the office, I would have hidden in the back trunk. Like you couldn't find any way to get into the Lost Highway house?
You just have it. There were some things that you're like, this isn't my department, and I gotta let this go. And then cross your fingers that when it does hit your department, you're like, okay, great, now I can get my hands on it. And so I was more than happy to have my colleagues who are in that realm who go and look at things in person. I do that some, but this is a whole other beast. And so but again, I was lucky enough to get to be the lead on the sale, and so that meant I got to look at everything once we had it here, and I could sort through things. And I mean, the day, Scott, that I got to go through the boxes that were David Lynch's record albums, that was like an amazing day. Discovering every single record that was in there was always just amazing. So, the
So
people who go
did
to the house,
you
like,
put
oh, yeah, I've never
those
heard his records, but I got to go through the boxes. It was great.
So did you put all of those things together? Like there was a thing about books about David Lynch, then there were books, art books. So you were the one that said this should kind of go here, this should go here.
Yeah, it was a joint effort between myself and several of my other colleagues. We kind of divided and conquered, where I was sort of like, you go do the tools, you go do the books. I'm going to do the electronics. Someone's going to go through these boxes that we don't know what they are. And because we had a very small time window to turn this all around in, we only got the property in like April, and we just had the auction in June. So we had about a month and a half ish to really get it ready, which is an insanely short amount of time to get a 400 plus lot auction together. So what I wouldn't, I can't take all of the credit. I just more like delegated responsibilities and did some things myself, and then kind of helped steer the ship at the end there once everyone else had other things to do. But a lot of the lotting process, yes, organizing things into categories, into sections, like the records, yes, that was me going through and being like, okay, here's like a bunch of classical albums. That's going to be a lot. Oh, here's a bunch of movie soundtracks. That's going to be a lot. And then digging through those, it was like, oh, here's a Bobby Vinton. Oh, great. Oh, wait, this Bobby Vinton has handwriting on it. Oh, that's going to go in a separate pile. And then going through and, oh, here's a Roy Orbison. Okay. Oh, this has handwriting on it as well. That's going to go over here, and creating that lot that was records relating to Blue Velvet.
Yeah.
That was something that was discovered as I was going through those boxes of records. So yes, that process was myself and others here at Julian's.
Um, I loved looking at all that stuff. And just for me, the fact that David Lynch owned the same Al Jolson record that I have made me
Yeah,
feel like, ha ha ha, how about that? I can't
me
believe
too. Yes, yes. Yeah.
like we were the same. Now, also there was a thing of books about David Lynch,
Mhm.
and none of my books were in that pile. But then I saw that the family kept
Mhm.
some of the stuff that really mattered to him. So probably my books
Probably.
you gave back to the family. You were like, look, you don't want to auction this. That's what
Oh,
happened,
and
probably.
I'm sure it wasn't even that, Scott. I'm sure the family were like, this is too important for us, so we can't even give it to you. That's probably
Okay.
what it was.
That's what I thought,
Yeah, yeah. I
but I
can't
just
confirm or deny. We're just speculating here, but yeah, probably.
yeah, I would think that would happen. What was some of the coolest things that when you opened up a box you just couldn't believe you saw?
Well, I mean, we had so few pieces of actual props from sets. So when we found things like those Winkies Diners menus, it was like, oh, this is a great thing to find. Oh, amazing that he has these. Or, and some of the furniture we didn't recognize right away because we had so much of it and we're just going through it. And then we would go, oh, wait, no, this isn't just a lamp. This is from the sheriff's department in Twin Peaks The Return. It's that lamp. Oh, it's one of those lamps. Oh, amazing. So when we got to find things like that, it was always very exciting. One of the things that we found very late in the game, um, we had a lot in the sale that was two hats. One was a wood straw hat that was in his wood shop, and I think in the art life you can see it hanging behind him in a shot.
Mhm.
And that hat was just going to be a lot on its own. It was the only hat we had, other than these like David Lynch branded hats. But very late in the game, we were going through boxes just one last time, and stuck in between like two things was that long bill cap. And we went, oh, it's too late to add another lot to the sale, but we can add this to the lot of the woodshop hat. And it was like, I was like, we have to put this in the sale. Like, this is his signature cap. I know he had many of them, but this is one of them. And so that was something that honestly we would have missed if we hadn't gone through those boxes one last time, before everything was official. And so getting to find that hat was super exciting. Because it felt very David. And that I'm glad that we were able to get that to somebody who wanted it. It was awesome.
Yeah. If you what did you want from the auction? If you would have bid on something, what would you have wanted to win?
Oh, it's a good question. I My favorite thing was the nuke picture. from Twin Peaks: The Return, because it's funny. Not not everyone I worked with had made it through all of that, um, and so what and I knew that they had to we had to kind of negotiate to make sure that we got that as part of the collection. And so when it came in, I was like, this piece is so important. This is one of the defining images of his last major work.
Right.
The screenshot of him whistling in front of it like embodies that whole show, and obviously it has that great bit of foreshadowing that comes when it appears in episode 7 for everything that comes next in episode 8, his crowning achievement.
Right.
And so I was just like, and again, it had tape on the back that said Cole's office, so we knew it was the one from the set. So just knowing that piece um, embodied so much of that show and of David, and a show that I was obsessed with. I was just like, whoever gets to hang this in their house is a very lucky person.
And what
And
did it go for? Do you know?
I want to say it went. You know what? I'll just tell you. Because I don't want to say the wrong thing. But it went for $45,000. So that was a little bit out of my price range.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that it was valued appropriately, because it is in some ways it's invaluable. It's amazing.
Right. Yeah, it was incredible. I bid on, right now I'm working on a book about Wild at Heart. And
Yeah.
so I bid on the Wild at Heart package. And I
Yeah.
think I was the first person to bid on it. And I thought, I'm gonna put $250. I
Yeah.
bet you I get this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
didn't work
think
out.
there was one lot that sold for under $1,000 in the wholesale.
Hmm.
Everything else at least sold for $1,000.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you think that people at your company outside of you understood that this was going to be like, because I knew when I looked at the stuff, I knew everything was going to go out of my price range. But
Um,
did they understand that David Lynch was going to be a big deal?
um, I think that we collectively were weren't prepared for what the response was going to be, but I mean that in a good way.
Right,
Um,
of course.
we have had estate sales that have done these kinds of numbers before, and these kinds of has this level of activity on them. We did Betty White's estate a few years ago, and that also was like her Hallmark ornaments, were going for thousands of dollars. And so, but I will say that our co-founder and namesake, Darren Julian, who's been in the business for 30 plus years, did comment and say that he has never seen engagement at this level with a single auction. The fact that before the day of the auction, most lots had at least 20 active bidders on them, was an amazing sight to behold. And the number of registrants that we had for the sale was astronomical. And so I wasn't surprised, but at the same time, it's hard to always convince a room of people who don't see that it was going to be that way. It was like me and one kid in the warehouse who, just got out of film school, and he was just like, "We know this is going to be crazy, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know, I know, I know." But we definitely knew that we wanted to be a part of the story, and give fans opportunities to engage with the things. So that's why we did the chair tour. Taking the director's chair to different spots in Los Angeles that were related to Lynch, and giving off sort of Lynchian clues to come and find us in places. That was inspired by the Mulholland Drive DVD
Uh-huh.
questionnaire. That's what that was sort of based off of. And then we also were at Cinespia, which is this screening series in Los Angeles that happens every summer at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. They screen movies on the side of a giant mausoleum, and it's
Mhm.
been going on for like 20 plus years every summer. And this summer, they were screening Blue Velvet because David is buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery.
Yeah.
And so it was a tribute to him, and we were able to partner with them, and we had a pop-up exhibit at Sinespia. It was unannounced. It was sort of like, surprise, here we are. And people came over and they were like, that's the chair. That's, oh my gosh, I know what that is because of the auction. And that
Right.
was only 4 or 5 days after we had announced the catalog. And so the fact that the word had spread like that to the point where people knew what our booth was as they walked up, that showed us we were like, oh, like people know what's going on, and that's special. So yeah, it was again, we were maybe slightly underprepared, but not in a bad way. In a way, we're like, oh, great, we have some stuff to catch up to and make sure that we capitalize on the excitement because it's worthwhile.
Well, like I said, I was there in LA and I saw the chair and I got the blue velvet shake that you could get at Bob's Big Boy that day. And I snapped a picture of both and I put it out on Twitter. And I put stuff out on Twitter all the time. And, I'll say, I have a new book. I talked to this person. I'm doing this new thing. And they get 400 likes, maybe. This
Mm-hmm.
got 165,000 likes immediate, like within a day.
Yeah.
And it's really the first time I went viral. And I'm like, people love David Lynch in a way that, like you say, if you're not in, like, I think it can be surprising to other people,
Yeah.
but people who love Lynch, like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and one of the things that I tried to explain to colleagues or to some of the press that I got to do was the response. Like, I really think that people were, the auction gave a chance for people to commune with David. And even myself, getting to go through this stuff as a fan, that was a way that I got to commune with him, which I will always cherish that time. But I also think, as an evolution of that, people were grieving, I think, too, through the auction.
Right.
And that is powerful. I think you want to have a piece, and if you can't have a piece, be able to say that you were trying to have a piece that almost in a way gives you some closure, as something to hold on to. Like when the auction was over, and I was at the Peninsula Hotel in Beverly Hills, and the last lot had closed. And I sat there, and I was over, and I was seeing what the total was, and it was this crazy number. And somebody came up to me and said, "How are you feeling?" I can't tell. Like, you should be ecstatic. It was such a success. And I said, yeah, for me, like, it's like the door's closing now. Like my grieving process, it's over now, because the auction's over, and that was my way that I was communing with him. And now these pieces are going to get to go to all these people that really wanted stuff, and now they get to have that as a part of their grieving process. And so it's I think it's kind of a beautiful thing, to get to share his spirit through all of these objects, and that there's so many people that wanted to be in touch with him, in that way. It's really amazing.
So what was the number one seller? What sold the most?
It was a tie. It was a tie between the Ronnie Rocket scripts and the one Lost Highway script. They both sold for almost $200,000 each.
That that's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Because I mean, to me, looking at it, the Lost Highway couch
sure.
should have. I mean, it was funny. I wanted to tell my wife that I bid on it just to see, like, how would we get it? Because, like, it would be awesome to have the Lost Highway couch. I think that should have been the number one thing, not
I
a
mean,
script. I mean, that's weird.
the scripts in general. I mean, the next highest I think was the lot of Mulholland Drive scripts, and then the Twin Peaks scripts and the Fire Walk with Me scripts. I think those were all in our top five. I
Wow.
think that's the top five. And then the director's chair was the one non-script that was in the top five. And it's yeah. I guess some of that stuff you can get online, but I
Yeah.
guess there's
I didn't.
something different about having the physical one that David kept in his personal archives, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's cool, but I would never have guessed that. To me, his furniture and the thing in his art that I was thinking for all these years, why didn't I ever buy a piece of his art? Like I don't know why I never even thought of it. And now, a regular person will never be able to own that. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the next day we sold the Twin Peaks map, and then two abstracts by him, and those all did very well as well. I think the Twin Peaks map sold for 90
right.
thousand.
Yeah, like
Uh,
even that, it would make sense for the Twin Peaks map to go outside
yeah,
of
yeah.
uh yeah, really. That's crazy to me. So, celebrities show up because I think George Griffith was there, right? I heard that George was
I
there.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, we didn't have a ton of people show up, except celebrity wise, but we did have a ton of people in general show up in 2025. People are bidding online,
Right.
and they really have been really since the pandemic. And so people coming in person to bid is a rarity. In fact, when we had our two other auctions after that, we did them here in our studio. We have a studio space, and we set up, I think, 8 chairs, and that was plenty for both of those days.
All right.
At the peninsula, we had 20 to 25 people there, which could maybe seem like a small number, but that actually is a lot in this day and age. And it was also, we had people actively bidding in the room, and we had people win lots in the room, which is always a thrill.
Sure.
And so yes, we did have some people like George show up, and I can't say who, but we did have some people on the phone
Hmm.
that were interested in things, and so
Very
some of us
cool.
got to
I like
help.
that.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts on Twin Peaks: The Return?
Oh, masterpiece. Probably the single most important piece of filmed media of the decade. And then personally, it's really the thing that taught me a lot about. It really rewired my brain on how I watch anything, because I so loved the experience of watching it week by week and not knowing, truly have no idea what was going to happen, and loving the questions that it presented, um, to the point where I started watching things with a more freeing attitude instead of asking everything to be explained to me now. When a movie or something gets to be ambiguous and luxuriates in that ambiguity, I find myself enjoying it even more. I think Twin Peaks: The Return and David Lynch's work in general, taught me to eschew answers. I want to be in a sense of the power of a mystery is that a question that's never answered has so much gravity to it. And so there are movies that I could think now, at the age that I'm at, that if I had seen them before I went on a deep dive through David's work, especially Twin Peaks: The Return, I wouldn't have liked them.
Mhm.
And now that he taught me how to love more things because his work is so specifically him, but also so unable to define, which is amazing. And so yeah, I mean, Twin Peaks: The Return is it's an achievement. Like it's a triumphant achievement on every level. And I'm so lucky that we have it. It's so lucky that we have it. It's just amazing.
Well, it's crazy that it ever got made, really. But I think the thing is that people don't realize about Lynch is it's that you think. And when you think when you watch something, it creates something that doesn't happen when a show's just telling you exactly what to feel and think every second. Where Lynch says, you decide, and that we feel that respect, and so he gets it back. And your favorite Lynch film?
Oh, it's probably Blue Velvet. Like, I think that it has all of the hallmarks that I just love about the work. I love that it's a mystery. I love that it's really a it's underrated as a coming of age movie. when we were at Cinespia and got to see it on the big screen again, it had been a minute since I watched it. And there's that scene later in the movie where Kyle MacLachlan is alone in his bedroom and he's thinking back to him and Isabella Rossellini in bed, and she's asking him to hit her and he doesn't want to, and then he does. And then it comes back to him in his bed alone and he's crying. And it's an amazing moment of, he's just a college kid.
Right.
He's so out of his depth in all of that scary world, which is what that movie is about. But he is coming to terms with the fact that now he's done something that's very adult and he is not prepared to have done it. And that is literally what growing up is doing things before you're ready to do them. And then once you've done them, you're like, okay, now I've done that. And I have experience now and I'm an adult. And but that can be overwhelming the first time that you're confronted with having to do an adult thing, because we all ultimately still feel like children most of the time. And
Right.
that moment, I was like, that is so profound to keep that scene in the movie, because that's what, honestly, to me, more of a thesis statement for the movie than the worms in the opening, because that is what the whole movie is about, is being confronted with the harshness of reality, and the only thing you can do is push through it.
I
So
can
underrated
just
as a
see,
communication.
I can really see you writing the essay Blue Velvet as the Wonder Years.
I mean, sure.
Kyle
I mean,
MacLachlan is Kevin
I see
Arnold.
it.
We've
Yeah,
got
I
it.
see it.
I
It'd be
mean,
great.
but now we've got a thesis here.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for caring and putting things together in a way, all of you there, that mattered to us. We noticed, us David Lynch fans, like everybody was talking about it. Like, everyone was texting me, did you see, did you look, what about this? So everyone noticed.
Oh,
And that's a good thing. You want to come through it. We're all sad he's gone. We're all dealing with it in our own way. But this was a nice communal thing for the fans to get to say goodbye. And it's great that it goes to the family because
yes.
we love that family as well.
That's so great to hear, because that it meant a lot, for me. Every conversation I had here was thinking about the fans and wanting to do right by them, because I am one of them. So I was advocating as one of them, to do this right. And so that's very gratifying to hear. So thank you, Scott.
Well, thanks for joining us and keep up the good work. And as I said, for people out there, if you want to pick up my new book on the music of Twin Peaks or our final issue of The Blue Rose on issue 18, use the coupon code AUCTION and you get $5 off. You don't have to like sell a kidney to get a Mr. Coffee pot, okay? You can get this. So, thanks for joining us, and that's our time with Scott Ryan.